With this kind of pseudo preseason, have there been any surprises? Have players surprised you and taken advantage of this opportunity?
Good question. I think the one player that sticks out is Zach Booth, and I think the goal that he scored against Minnesota, the way he played against Minnesota, not the goal he scored, but the way he played, and obviously the goal gave him a lot of confidence. He went off with the U.S. team for a friendly or a camp, and he came back, and from the moment we hit the ground, he's been playing right wing back, he's been playing left wing back, but more importantly, he's just been a really good soccer player. It doesn't matter. His decisions have been better than they've ever been, and I think this is like we're living in real time, the moment of a young man that was kind of, on the fringes of the group when he first got here and played a couple different positions, and now with every training sessions becomes more and more of a solidified player within this group, and that onus is on us as a coaching staff is where do we play him? It's not so much if he's going to play or not, but I think he's been the most exciting, and I wouldn't say unexpected because I expected this from all the guys, but his trajectory in the last 3 weeks has been, and then he obviously hurt his shoulder a week ago, and that kind of sent him out of that game against Minnesota, but he's picked back up and he's been really, really bright. So,
has the focus been on just maintaining where you left off at the break, or people have seen the film now? Are you putting in some wrinkles? What are the plans for through the rest of the season?
No, we're definitely doing a little bit of both. We're trying to fine tune again. How do we become? I think the way that efficiency works is better execution, right? So if you're trying to be efficient and not waste as much energy because it's going to be hot, but we still don't want to change our game model. We don't want to change our identity as a group. So how do you do that? Well, you got to execute better defensively. So when we try to lock it on one side, the understanding has to be such that we're going to do this once and we're going to be successful, as opposed to doing it once and then getting rotated, doing it there, getting rotated. That's where inefficiency starts, and that's where you get tired, games get out of your control. So I would say that if we want to be more efficient, we have to execute better. So we've been really working on the defensive side of the ball, understanding how to trap teams better, and use our voice more. And so, again, in soccer, you can solve problems two ways: one with your voice, or two with your body. And if everyone's using their body, we're going to die out. So how do our center backs and our pivots do a better job of communicating to the line in front to put them in positions to where their job becomes easier? So that's been the focus defensively. And then as far as being a little bit different, I think one of the things that we've explored with Nashville and Minnesota is not being so dogmatic in the 3-2 build, and just having some flex. And what it's done is asked a lot of questions. So it's really interesting because I keep saying, we got together as a staff and I go, our biggest problems are when pivots roll out. So when teams stay in their structure, it's so easy to prepare for. The problem is when they have a pivot rolling out, or outside center back moving forward and in, and then their wing back drops. It's these movements that make it really difficult for us to plan for teams. So then we said, well, what are we doing? Let's continue to throw wrinkles in that will make it difficult. And what we've also found is it also prevents us from having to always go back to Hoffa, which is another big energy save, because if late in the game we have a lead and we're going 40 yards back to him and our 10s and 9s are by our opponent's goal and have to sprint 40 yards back, we're triggering our own negative movement. So it's really developed a couple different things, and it's also a lot of fluidity and more rotations from our wingbacks coming inside and our 10s popping out, but making sure like one of the things we said is like, okay, rotations are fine. You take that position, you own the responsibility too. It is not a free lunch. So if our 10s roll out and we get picked off, they are now wingbacks. So again, rotate at your own risk here. Like this, I love it, but if we're going to be disciplined, the roles and responsibilities are really clear to everyone. So make sure you roll out at the right time. So, anyways, different ways to maintain a really high standard, but allow us to throw in some wrinkles offensively and continue to be efficient with our work defensively.
Has your thought process on how to prepare for teams changed at all? Are you we're going to do what we do and they adjust to us, or do we look at the other team and say, how do we adjust to them?
It's always both, Brent. It's always both. So we don't change our shape. We improve our understanding of our shape, to better deal with their opponents. And again, if they have pivots rolling out, how do we do that? We'll touch on that for that particular week. But the basis understanding of defending against a 4, a 4-1, and a 4-2, and then a 3-1, 3-2, like the guys have a basic understanding. We just touch on we highlight those things given our opponent. And we just want to get better at what we do. So a lot of our actions, run 10 shows, the 9 goes, the 9 shows, the 10 runs. Just continue to improve our basic principles in the attack to continue to be a more dynamic team. And then your question as to, like, we don't change for anybody. The opening exchanges of games decides who changes for who. In other words, if we impose ourselves offensively and defensively better than our opponents, then they'll have to change to us. If our opponents do a better job of imposing themselves, then we have to adapt to them. I'm not ever dogmatic in the way I see the game. It's like saying, no, I'm going to have a great day every day. It doesn't matter. I'm just going to have a great day. And it's not real life. Like, you got to adapt to the day. You got to adapt to your opponents. You got to adapt. And so that's why game management becomes really critical. And if we get thrown in a lower block, do we have a good enough understanding of, we don't want to sit here. We want to get out of it. When is the right time? What is the mechanism we're looking for? What's the communication like from line to line to get out of this block so that we can now start imposing ourselves on the game, as opposed to just running crazy and trying to get it, we're losing all our energy. So those are some of the things that I think we'll continue to improve upon.
You got a fun game with Burnley, former Premier League team this year in the championship. Do the players and coaches look forward to these kind of friendlies as much as the fans?
Oh yeah. I'm excited. It's like, it's a different opponent. I think all the coaches, the Prem is every coach's dream to coach in. The Prem is every dream for every player to play in. And here, obviously they're in the championship this year, but they're still a really, really good team. And I think when you get to be in that environment and play against those, and you think, man, I can play at this level. It just brings a whole level of excitement. Obviously, the fans want to see a great performance with a great result, and so there's a little pressure on this game as well from our standpoint. We want to do well and do our fans well. So, yeah, we're all excited about this game.
And you've been around the league since inception, essentially. How close is Major League Soccer to being on the level of the Premier League and the Championship, knowing that there's work to be done?
Yeah.
How have you seen it change?
Well, I'll tell you what. If nothing else, this World Cup has really put us in the spotlight of having the infrastructure to really be able to be a top league in this world. I think they've seen the stadiums. These are all these artificial turf fields that are now grass. I mean, we have the ability to do a lot of things that most countries won't have. We still have space to build, where a lot of European countries don't have that. I think from a technology perspective, I think technology in this country is amazing, where it's constantly growing. So I just feel like we have the infrastructure here to be the best league in the world, I think going to this, the European schedule will help that as well. So now we can we're aligned. So our players that are now out of contract are aligned with the rest of the world. It'll be a lot easier to get players in versus trying to get them in the winter when everything else is dead. So there's a lot of things that are happening, but I think this World Cup has really put us under a spotlight that we have. And again, I think, when you have guys like, when you have the national team that has a couple MLS players doing well, when you have Messi, who's winning the Golden Boot, and he's still playing in our league, and I think they start to realize, like, he's scoring the same amount of goals that he does in MLS, and so we have a really good league. I think to keep him at bay. So I think we're on the cusp of that. At the end of the day, it all comes down to TV money. To be a top league, you just need the TV money. But I think our product every year is getting better and better. And I think all the players that are in this league that represented their countries, Moreira and Cape Verde, Juanma for Uruguay, and the list goes on and on. They've represented the MLS in a really special way. So I think it's only a matter of time, hopefully sooner than later. But in the meantime, it's been beautiful to kind of soak this World Cup in and use that as kind of a springboard for all of us to be excited to get back on and play these games.
Lastly, thoughts on the World Cup so far?
For me, it's the best World Cup I've ever seen, and I've only seen since '86. So, but for me, I've never seen the quality, the amount of, and not only quality, but the amount of theater in these games. like late comebacks, referee intervention that lead to different things, and like the team still, Argentina has been, for me, the reason why they're a great team is because the last 2 games have been really tough to watch, not really Argentina-like, but they still find a way to win. And so I think good teams need it to go really well for them to win those games. I think great teams can play in tough situations and still find a way. So England, Argentina has more on it than just the game of soccer. There's obviously a history with the 2 countries. Messi, I don't think has ever played England. And then Maradona back in '86, at the hand of God. So it's like so many like great storylines in this World Cup. So I'm just in awe of what I've been able to experience. I didn't go to one game, but I felt like I lived like 40 or 50 of them in my television.
Thank you.
Yeah.